The House of Representatives recently passed a bill that will automatically register young people between the ages of 18 and 26 for the draft. Not the NBA draft, the draft. That's right. The House passed a large defense bill on Friday, the 14th, that included a provision that would automatically enroll young men between the ages of 18 and 26 for the selective service. Now, many of you all get those when you turn 18. Y'all know you get that card for the selective service. You send it in, you send it out, you're good, right? And it's a way of like registering yourself for the draft. And if they say if you don't do it, you can go to jail. There's all these penalties. In real life, not really, but it's what happens. Anyway, this is the House's version of the National Defense Authorization Act, or the NDAA, which authorizes $895 billion in military spending. And the bill passed quite not easily, but it passed 217 to 199. It's unlikely that the Senate is going to pass this, so I don't think it's a super big deal, but it symbolizes something. The Senate's not going to pick it up because of the provisions for abortion, diversity, DEI, trans medical treatments. There's a lot of stuff in there that reflect the kind of progressive agenda, or that undermine a progressive agenda, excuse me. They want to stop everything. So it won't make it through the Senate, but the idea that the House Republicans would even pass something like this is ridiculous. The selective service is something that you do in the United States. It's a way for individuals to have some agency over their decision making in a country that says it values individual freedom, and that's why the draft ended in 1975. There was a time where the draft was in place for World War I because we needed soldiers, we needed people. We said we're going to conscript people just like other countries do. Then it stopped. Then World War II came. It's like, oh my God, this is the big one, right? We need more support. We need lots of support. And so they came up with it again. And then they terminated it again. And then in 1975, it happened once more. And this is where it gets interesting, right? In 1975, they actually just said, look, we're not going to have a draft anymore. It's dangerous. It's out of step with American values. We don't want a conscription army. We want people to sign up when they want to sign up, right? That's the idea. In 1980, President Carter, was like, I don't know about this. Russia had just invaded, or the Soviet Union had just invaded, whatever. Yeah, the USSR had just invaded Afghanistan, and he said, well, at the very least, we need people to register, right, for the draft, so that in case stuff gets crazy, we have a clear kind of trail of people to be involved. And since then, in my era, you turn 18, you register for the selective service. Doesn't mean, you go to the military, but you at least sign up. They at least know your name. Now, since the 1980s, so now no one ever goes to jail for not signing up. I won't say never, but there's been 14 convictions by people who refuse the selective service. None of them have been since 1986, right? So, I forgive me, I think I misspoken. So they've been since 1986. Since 1975, there have been 14. None since 86. You're talking about 40 years. So why does this matter, right? Well, there are a few things at stake here, a few things at play here. And I think we got to think about those things. The first thing that I think is important is the idea that the Republicans are even trying to smuggle a mandatory draft into legislation. This is why you got to pay attention to bills. This is why you got to know who's running for office. This is why we got to make sure that we don't like a bill because of its title and not pay attention to the details. Because even in this bill, which is about a conscription army, there's a million other things. It's really a defense spending bill, but it also cuts DEI. It's also about abortion. It's about all these other things. Never take a bill for granted. But then it's like, why do they want people conscripted? Why do they want people to be forced to go into this military? And I don't mean forced in some cruel way, but forced. I mean, in Israel, women do what, 2 years, men do 2.5, whatever. The numbers have changed a bit in the last year or two, or last 5 years. But fundamentally, right, military say if you're going to be here, you got to defend the country. You got your laborers, needed in the military. But it's wild for this to be an idea that's a World War I idea, a World War II idea, a Vietnam idea, a 1970s idea. But now we're still trying to make people do it. And again, when it was time to wear a mask, when it was time to protect people, liberty, 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 we need our liberty. This is a country about freedom. But now, when they're telling people they have to join the military, or at least, sign up as eligible for it, where does that liberty go? My individual right to not be controlled by the state, to not have the state overdetermine my labor practices. Where does that go? Where does it go to say that not only can I not do these things, but I have to participate in these other things? I mean, come on. Can you imagine being 18 and told you have to go into the military? And at the philosophical level, how is that different than them calling me and saying, hey, look, we really need help, man. You just got to work at the IRS for 6 months. Right? It's the same principle, right? You can't coerce my labor from the government or for the government's benefit. Again, this is an abstract philosophical argument at some level, but in very real ways, it makes me wonder what the Republicans are cooking. What are y'all waiting for? What are y'all planning? What are you worried about? Why do you want all of us to be able to get shipped off and go to war at a moment's notice? Why is that even something you'd want to do? How you decide when we're going to hit that moment. And if Donald Trump is at the helm, and I do believe Donald Trump is going to be at the helm, again, all bets are off. That's all I can say. All bets are off. So it's going to die in the Senate. But we need to be paying careful attention to these Republican attempts now to basically draft all of us. Not me, I'm old as hell, but to draft all the young people for the military. That's something we got to be mindful of.